the design of this mod kit has been updated since it was first released. This video is for the latest version. Please look at the sensor mount from your kit. If it looks different than the current version on the right, please follow the correct video link in the video description. Before you get started, it's important to set up a clean workspace that's well lit and free from dust. Any screws removed from the camera must be saved as they will be reused. We recommend taking the time to keep the different screw sets separate and labeled during your project. Before opening the camera, we recommend that you perform a full functionality check to make sure it's working properly. Perform any firmware updates using the smartphone app. Make sure you have a fully charged battery. Before we begin, it's important to note that none of the operations you'll be performing require force. Patience and a gentle touch are all that is required. Let's take a look at some of the tools you'll need. A set of precision screwdrivers with a Phillips 000. A small pair of wire cutters. A microfiber cleaning cloth. A bottle of superglue. And a utility knife. The following are optional but recommended. A plastic spudger. A lens cleaning kit. Tweezers. And an air puffer. First, it's important to test your camera's functionality, especially if it's new and you haven't used it before. Perform any firmware updates and check to make sure all the camera's features work correctly before proceeding. It's important to note that the Yi 4K Plus camera is pictured in this video. There are very small differences between it and the original 4K camera that we'll point out if needed, but the steps are almost identical. Remove any accessories, the battery, and the SD card. The front plate is snapped in securely with tabs on all sides. It can take a fair bit of pressure to pop out the first tab, but once you do, it's much easier. It's best to start on the bottom next to the battery compartment. Insert a tool such as a small flathead screwdriver between the body and the faceplate. Work the tool in slightly and push the faceplate away from the camera body. Once you've popped it out, work your way around the camera counterclockwise to remove the rest. Once you've popped a couple of the tabs out, it's easiest to use your fingers to pop the rest free. The original Yi 4K camera also has a small amount of double-sided tape holding the front plate on. Release the locking tab holding the wide ribbon on the left by gently flipping it up. Pop off the button connector at the top using a small screwdriver or plastic tool. That ribbon is held on with a little adhesive. Gently pull the ribbon free from left to right, taking care not to bend it sharply. Pull off the small sticker covering the lower right housing screw. Use a Phillips 000 to remove the 4 screws located in the corners. Be sure to save them for use later. They will be referred to as screw type A. Use a Phillips 000 to remove the 2 screws holding the speaker mount over the lens. Put them aside with the 4 corner screws you just removed for use later. These are also screw type A. Take care not to break the solder points where the speaker attaches to the main board. They are easily soldered back in place should that happen. Now let's pull out the assembly. Pop the USB port out on the right side and pivot the assembly out as pictured. Take note that the ribbon is still in place on the left side of the assembly. Verify that the locking tab is still up and gently pull the ribbon free. On the front of the assembly, a sticker is covering part of the metal bracket we'll remove next. Pull the sticker back to expose the metal. This is not required on the original 4K camera. Turn the assembly back over. Remove the screw located in the lower left corner and set it aside. This is screw type B. Pull down to remove the metal bracket. This part is no longer required. The back of the CMOS sensor is covered with a copper plate, held on with adhesive. Work a tool under the yellow colored plastic, and then work it in between the black adhesive and silver colored metal in the upper right corner. This part is not present on the original 4K camera. Slowly and carefully work the tool under until you are able to gently peel the plate off. Take note that the backing wraps around the bottom slightly. Save this part for later, and be careful to keep the adhesive side free of debris. Remove the 4 screws on the rear of the CMOS sensor and put them aside for use later. These will be referred to as screw type C. Remove the rubber gasket around the glass of the sensor. Gently pop the connector off the main board with a small flathead screwdriver, taking care not to scratch or damage any of the board components. It will unsnap and come free. Take special care not to bend or twist the ribbon in a rough manner. Remove the 2 screws holding the small Wi-Fi board on the side. Put the screws aside for use later. These are screw type B. Next, use your small screwdriver to gently pop the Wi-Fi module connector off the board. remove the board mounting screw on the upper right. This is screw type B. If you have the original 4K camera, you should now remove the lower left screw as well. Lift up and out to separate the board from the aluminum plate. Remove the 3 screws holding the lens assembly in place. These won't be required again later. Pull the lens assembly free. We'll outline how to prepare the lens for use in your modified camera later. The disassembly is now complete. Now that your camera is disassembled, let's take a look inside your modification kit. It includes a premium machined aluminum faceplate, a sensor mount, plastic cap with logo, 2 IR cut filters, a rubber O-ring, a CS mounting ring, a C-mount ring, reversible M12 mount, an M12 key which we'll explain later, 6 black screws and an L key, 3 silver screws, and an LED light cover. You should also now have the following screws that you removed during Section 1. 6 Type A screws, which are removed from the 4 corners of the housing and the speaker mount. 4 Type B screws removed from the main board and the Wi-Fi module. First, we'll start by clipping off 2/3 of the foam pad located on the Wi-Fi board. Next, we'll use a utility knife to cut off the small tab on the housing as pictured. Make sure not to cut into either of the ribbon connectors. Now we'll prepare the speaker. Take care not to break the solder connections connecting the wires to the board. If you do, they can easily be soldered back in place. Use your cutters to clip off the plastic bracket as pictured. Once removed, you can free the speaker wire. Clip off any of the remaining plastic to make the area as flat as possible. Clip off the small tab hanging down from the bottom center. Don't forget to cut off the clip that held the wire in place. Next, we'll add the LED cover to the faceplate. Put a dab of superglue on a piece of paper and use a small applicator such as a toothpick or paperclip to add a small amount of glue to the LED socket as shown. Add the clear plastic cover and make sure it's fully inserted. If the thermal pad came off during disassembly, put it back in place now. If you can't find it, it might be stuck to the original aluminum plate. We recommend removing the small sticker on the image sensor ribbon if it's still attached. Attach the image sensor and Wi-Fi module to the main board as shown. The connectors should click easily into place when properly aligned. Put the circuit board straight down onto the plate as shown. Make sure the upper right corner of the board aligns with the registration pin. Place another large dab of superglue on a sheet of paper and use your applicator to add glue to the entire inner rim of the plastic mount as shown. Now take the sensor bracket and slide it over the metal standoff. One side is taller and has a hole in it. That should be on the left side. Make sure it goes down as far as it can go. Next, take one of the Type B screws and screw it into the metal plate and through the hole in the sensor bracket. If they are misaligned, push the bracket down further until the screw passes through. Place another Type B screw into the top right corner of the main board. Check to make sure there is no excess glue on the surface or in the corners of the highlighted area. If there is, remove it by scraping it off with a small flat screwdriver. Be sure to follow the instructions on your glue bottle to make sure the glue is set before continuing. We recommend waiting 12 to 24 hours to make sure it's completely set. Don't mount filters or lenses until the glue is set, as the fumes can haze optical coatings. Bend the ribbon to form a U shape as pictured. Insert the sensor into the mount and make sure it's fully seated and flat. It's a snug fit, so you might need to push down a little on the sensor to push it all the way in. Insert one of the 5 flat-top silver screws into the top center hole in the sensor. These screws should not be tightened at all. They only need to be gently screwed in to the point of contact. Add the remaining 4 screws in the order pictured. Make sure all the screws make contact with the sensor and that the sensor is fully inserted and flat. The 4th screw requires that the small washer be added. To make sure the sensor is straight and flat, cut a small strip of paper and try to insert it between the metal and glass as shown. If you can easily slide the paper under one side, check that the sensor is all the way in and the screws are making contact. Remove the Type B screw you added earlier and use it to secure the Wi-Fi module. Add the remaining Type B screw. Orient the speaker as shown with the wire in the center. Add 2 of the Type A screws to hold it in place. Don't over-tighten these screws, they only need to be snug. Make sure the wire isn't being pinched. Replace the copper plate on the back of the sensor. Loosen the screw in the upper right corner, but don't take it all the way out. This will give the board a little room to move in the next step. Now we'll connect the rear housing. We'll connect the broad ribbon connector to the socket on the board. This step requires a little patience to align properly. We recommend getting the right corner of the ribbon connector into the socket and then slide it over to the end. Then wiggle the housing and ribbon to get them fully inserted. Use a small thin tool like a small screwdriver to click the locking tab down. Stand the unit up and pivot it open. Retighten the board screw on the upper right, taking care not to put pressure on the ribbon connector. Insert the button ribbon over the circuit board and out the opening on the front of the camera as shown. On the 4K Plus, you can tuck the ribbon under the board and then attach the connector. On the original 4K camera, you must insert the ribbon into the connector and flip down the locking tab. The ribbon must then be folded over itself as shown on the upper left. Use 4 of the Type A screws to secure the corners. Don't over-tighten. Now it's time for a quick test. Insert a battery and turn the unit on. If you hear sound, the speaker is working. You should see an interface on the back and a pinkish colored screen. If you don't see anything on the screen, make sure the broad ribbon connection to the rear housing is in all the way and try again. Next, remove the lens mounting rings from the package. Use your Allen key to insert 6 of the socket head screws into the stainless steel mount. Depending on when the kit was manufactured, they might be black or silver. Now add some glue to the inner rim of the opening for the ribbon. Insert the plastic cap, making sure the logo is right side up. Hold it in place for 1 to 2 minutes until it stays securely in place. To use M12 lenses, you can use one of the 2 provided mounts. One is metal and one is plastic. In most cases, you should use the metal one, unless you find a lens that is too loose in it. For short lenses, insert the mount and use the key to screw it in using a coin as shown. Use the key to remove it as well. For longer lenses, turn the mount around and insert it so that the socket extends out. Don't over-tighten this mount or you may cause damage. Now is a good time to clean the sensor. We recommend a microfiber cleaning cloth or a Lens Pen Mini Pro, followed by a puffer. For lenses other than M12s, you will need to add an IR cut filter for normal color. Remove one of the filters from the package and drop it into the socket. Secure it in place with the provided O-ring. Simply remove the O-ring to remove the filter. Use the stainless steel ring for mounting Intania fisheye lenses and some compatible CS mounts. Use the black spacer ring to connect C-mount lenses and SLR adapters. Use the cap provided to keep the inside clean when no lens is attached. If you'd like to use the original Yi camera lens with your new mod, you'll need an adjustable wrench and a pair of vice grips. Grip the base of the lens with the wrench and it's secure and won't turn. Take the vice grips and apply a small amount of counterclockwise turning force to crack the glue holding the lens in place. You can optionally wrap some electric tape around the wrench or wrap a rubber band around the outside of the lens to protect it. Once the glue bond cracks, you can easily unscrew it with your hands. Remove any additional glue. To use the lens, add it to the M12 mount in your camera and turn it until you achieve sharp focus.